Hello, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and this is the Astral Library. So we are in front of my bookshelves today and in our little mini mobile mic because my shelves are a mess. I have things just kind of thrown, my organization's kind of got off, and it's driving me a little crazy. So we're going to do a bit of reorganization. I thought I'll take you guys along with me and you can see the process. I think I'm going to show you guys kind of what my shelves are looking at right now. So I'll talk a little bit about these behind me as well as my TBR corner, which is across the room from where I'm at. So let me go ahead and grab you guys and then we could talk about what my plans are, what everything's kind of looking at, and what I'm maybe going to take out of my shelves. I think I'm going to do a bit of an unhaul along with this reorganization. So we'll see, but let me grab you guys and let's go. Okay, I thought I'd start you guys off with my little TBR shelf. So let me turn you around. I have this kind of set of shelves in my corner. So up top is my pretty classics, as well as like my mythology, and then some more paperback classics. And then the shelf below that, all of this is my like favorites books. So it's like an extension of my favorite shelf from my main bookshelf. But then the two below that, these are all my TBR shelves, and you can kind of see that all the books I recently hauled are just kind of like thrown on there. And that's not typically how I like to do these shelves. I like to think of these as like my priority TBR. The things I'm really excited to get to and general things like I'm interested in picking up. Throwing things on there is not a good look for these. And it doesn't really give me an idea of like what do I want to get to soon and what am I maybe not so excited about anymore. So I think I'm definitely going to go through more of these shelves and I might pull some books off to unhaul from this. But this is my main focus. I want to really figure out what am I excited to read. And then we do have some books here. I don't think I'm going to be moving anything of the books. I think I might be trying to find a new home for the Aragon book I have there, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put it. All I know is I do want it on display because it's so pretty. Okay, and then what else do we have? Oh, so I have these shelves too. I don't think I'm going to be changing much because this is just like my Lord of the Rings shelf. I love it. Nothing's bad about that. And then this shelf is my 24 for 2024 challenge. So I like that these are kind of right there and easy to grab. So I think everything on this section is going to stay the same. I might go through my graphic novels and see which ones I don't want to keep. But generally, I think they're all okay. I can't quite imagine why I'd get rid of any of them. I think all the ones I have up there that I've read, I've enjoyed, and all the ones I haven't read, I'm still interested in getting to. So I think my biggest issue is going to be these shelves right here. I have my school books at the very tippity top here, so you can see these are like classics and textbooks. The shelf below that is like my mysteries and thrillers. And then here's my biggest issue. So this shelf right here is one of my fantasy shelves. And then it's followed immediately by my favorite shelf because it's at eye level. And then we have another fantasy shelf. And then we have fantasy spilling over to sci-fi, spilling over to contemporary. I hate that my fantasy shelves are split up like that. And I need to figure out some other solution, but I don't know what. Because I don't want to get rid of the favorites books at eye level because it's so nice. Like that's what your eyes are drawn to. And I would love them to be like books I really enjoy. And I would like people to like get to know me and like see. But my fantasy shelves are driving me crazy. So I think what I have to do is bring my fantasy down to the bottom two shelves and then move So let's say I move the fantasy down to the bottom and I think I keep the sci-fi and then maybe I move the contemporary up to, I swear I'm still gonna need that though. I'm gonna have to play around and see what works, but I know I want my fantasy all together. So it's driving me a little cuckoo. So I'll have to play around and see what's gonna work. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna set you guys up and you can watch me struggle because this is gonna be at least a couple hours. Hopefully it'll be faster for you guys, but we'll see. I've got all my fantasy books off the shelves, and if you weren't like for certain of like knowing I'm a fantasy reader, that's all my fantasy books. Or rather, that's not all my fantasy books, because we still have them in my shelf over there, and we still have them in my shelf over here. I'm a fantasy girly, what can I say? Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do now that I have all of them kind of like spread out on the couch here, I'm going to go through and see which ones I maybe want to get rid of and like just pull them out to one haul. I think I'm going to try to unhaul 10 books, maybe 9 books, 10 or 9 books. Put me a nice even number, I think, in my collection currently. And I'll come back at you when I have my little stack of what I'm getting rid of from the fantasy section. You know what? I'm going to pull them off my TBR shelf too, and then I will come back at you with which ones I'm getting rid of. And look whose microphone went out and didn't know. Oh, gotta love this. Luckily, I'm just here talking about books that I'm taking out. So the ones I have in my hand are actually books that were in the wrong section. I do not know how I mix them into fantasy, because the selection series is more like dystopian, and I think the Just Show is like a sci-fi type of book. And so I'm just here explaining that I'm kind of dumb and I forgot that they were not fantasy, and so they're now in my stack, and I'll just put them aside so they're not a thing. But then I'm pulling out the first book I'm getting rid of, which is The Fury of Cauldrons by Jim Butcher. I grabbed this book because of a boy, and it wasn't great, and I don't even talk to that boy anymore, so it's fine. And he's not gonna be mad at that I'm getting rid of it, because he'll never know. And I kind of grabbed it because he recommended it, but it was never anything I like was super interested in. I was talking about how I was like debating if I was gonna get rid of it, but I spoiler, I do. It's no longer in my collection, so oh well. And then the next book I'm getting rid of is The House of Scorpions by Nancy Farmer. And I've had that book in my TBR for like ever. And so I'm never gonna read it. And so it's finally time for it to move on to another home where I won't have to see it and it mocked me on my shelves. Oh, I know it's coming up. So for these next books, I was like debating whether or not to do that. And that is the whole Shadow on the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is like a spin-off of the From Blood and Ash series. And so here I'm talking about like how I'm never gonna read this book because I hated From Blood and Ash after book 3 so much, or rather after book 2. I hated it. Like, let's be real. But I'm talking about how much I'm never gonna read this book and how disappointed I was in her writing. I'm talking myself into getting rid of the rest of the series. But it's maybe like a good thing that this got muted, because I was just tearing this book apart. I did not like it. Not even, I think I read the first 10 pages, but I was so disappointed in From Blood and Ash because I loved it so much. And I said, okay, and let me read the third book. And the third book was so bad, guys. And so I'm like, let's never again. I had that book pre-ordered, and so I said, no more whatsoever. And so I'm getting rid of it, and I end up getting rid of the rest of the series. So in this next clip, I'm talking to you about the shelves that I have cleaned and that they are dirty, and to excuse how dirty my shelves are, because this house gets a lot of dust with dogs. But I'm kind of walking you through what I'm thinking, which is that I'm eventually going to move the books I have in the bottom shelf up to the top so I can get my fantasy all together, because I can't in any way like break apart those books without like losing a lot of room. So here I was like contemplating maybe I want to put them up by my mystery and thrillers, but those were kind of already overrunning on their own shelf. I'm pointing. Okay, so here is me pointing at the mystery thriller shelf. So I was thinking of moving it down or kind of like adding my contemporary up there, but it just wouldn't work necessarily. So what I end up eventually deciding is just moving this bottom shelf up to the shelf above my favorites, and then just fantasy on the bottom too. It's more of me talking about something that I cannot tell you what it is, but it's me just kind of saying I'm gonna have to try and figure it out. So let's go ahead and jump back into clips where I am actually figuring it out and wiping down these really gross shelves. All right, I have finished getting all of my fantasy on the shelves. I've only organized the first shelf, so you can kind of see here, I have all my fantasy that's relatively set in our world. So I have more like my historical-ish fantasies getting closer and closer to our modern times, modern world. Not necessarily in publication order, because you'll see like I have Patricia Briggs and then I have Twilight at the end. They're not set in the same time per se, but they're all relatively modern times, which is why I have them where they are. The problem is I have so many that it spilt over into what I was hoping would only be my high fantasy shelf, but alas, that's not the case. We have my Odd Thomas series was a spillover, and it just kind of spirals on, and you can see I have quite a few more I still have to fit on this shelf, and it's gonna be interesting to see how I do that. But I think what I'm going to do to help alleviate this problem is I'm gonna start pulling more books I'm interested in to kind of go on my TBR shelves. I've been starting to do that over here. So like these are all the books I'm really interested in. Most of them are relatively new that I've bought in. I think I'm going to pick some more books from the main shelf here, put them in that pile, and then hope by God, by alleviating some of them from the shelf, I'll be able to fit the rest of these books. We shall see. So I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to hop in, just skip to my shelves over there and make my life easier. But the sci-fi and fantasy shelves are done. Like, look at that. That looks so nice. Now, okay, this is actually a fantasy book that I don't plan on reading because I hear it has a lot of anti-Semitism in it, and I was not interested. I got it right after I found that out, so I was like, damn. But I really like this cover and this text, so I'm gonna leave it up like this. And you can't see the author's name, and you wouldn't know what the book was unless you knew this title. So I'm going to display it, and it's gonna be a nice little piece. Divide my sci-fi from my contemporary, which is still in that rainbow order. And then it ends on like my historical fiction and my nonfiction that just kind of like end up there. They don't have enough books to be their own spot, but I thought they kind of fit really nicely where they are, and so they're just kind of tucked away. And that way I can really just have my fantasy all together. I'm gonna fiddle. I will catch you in the next update. Okay, I thought I'd sit you guys down and go through all the books that I'm getting rid of. So some of these are duplicates that I no longer need, or some of them are just I don't want to read. So first I have Moon Called, Bloodbound, and Iron Kiss. These are the Mercy Thompson books. These are the first 3 books, and these are the ones I cannot find in like hardback individually. Like, they're just so expensive and it's like impossible to find them. I'm getting rid of these because I do have the bind up of all 3 of these in a hardback. So when I reread them, I will probably read from that version. So I no longer need these mass market ones because they kind of hurt my hands anyways. So I don't particularly want to read them that way. And I will still be on the hunt trying to find these in hardback. So if you know or you have one you want to get rid of, you know, let a girl know. I will be so thankful. I'll even trade you a book if there's something on my shelves that you really want. And then you kind of heard me talk about these already. So I have the Shadow and the Ember and then the From Blood and Ash series. I'm never gonna reread these because of how upset freaking Crown of Guild and Bone made me. And it just ruined, like, these books were okay, or like the first one was okay, and I really like the second one. But the introduction of that 3rd book just ruined everything for me, so I'm not gonna go back and read it. I know myself, so they need to go. And then the other 2 I've already talked about. So again, the Furies of Cauldron, I think I am gonna get rid of. And then House of the Scorpions, also can get rid of. And then the last book I have I'm getting rid of, I kind of got on just like a whim. And it's I Will Judge You by Your Bookshelves. And it's like this like comic about bookshelves and like book lovers. And it was cute. I looked through it. I don't need this on my shelves. It's just kind of like a coffee table book, but I don't really care for coffee table books. So it's going away. So I think that brings me to a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books. I did it. I hit 10 exactly. So 10 books out of here, which means I have room for 10 more books coming in. I achieved my unhaul goal. All right, that is my bookshelf organization redone. I think it actually looks really nice. I'm quite happy with having my 2 fantasy shelves next to each other. And I'm really happy with, you can kind of see a glimpse of it here, but I'm really happy with my sci-fi and contemporary shelves. I think they look really nice. I think I'm going to fiddle a bit more with the fancy shelves, and I think I'll fiddle a little bit more with my TBR shelves. But overall, I feel better. I feel like everything's a little more organized. I feel like I have more room to grow definitely on all my spaces. So that's really exciting. I was feeling a bit overrun, especially on my TBR shelves. I have more room to add more books as I kind of get them in through the year. But thank you all so much for watching this organization video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider leaving a thumbs up and a comment down below. Let me know, how do you organize your books? I'm a genre girly and like nothing else. I don't care about author's last name or anything like that. How do you are you a rainbow person? Are you a genre person? Are you an alphabetical person? Do you do some other system? Let me know in the comments down below. Or if you made it this far, go ahead and leave me a blue heart emoji for my daughter in Smoke and Bone facing out. We're gonna have a blue heart in commemoration for her. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!